I was forcing.
Styrofoam cups, please. I can share.
No, I'm fine.
All right, I think we're ready. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the regularly scheduled Beloit City Council meeting. It is now 7 p.m. on Monday, June 3rd, 2013, here at 100 State Street, Beloit, Wisconsin. Item number 1 is call to order, which we've done, and the roll call.
Roll call shows all councilors present.
Item 2 is Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, item number 3, special orders of the day and announcements. We don't have any, so we'll move on to item 4, public hearings. Item 4A.
A resolution authorizing a conditional use permit to allow the expansion of an existing gas station with underground fuel tanks in a wellhead protection overlay district for the properties located at 903, 911, and 915 Broad Street. The Plan Commission recommended approval, 4-0.
Mrs. Christensen.
Joe Stottleman of Angus Young & Associates on behalf of Bindi R. Incorporated has filed this application for a conditional use permit. The council adopted the wellhead protection ordinance on April 1st. Prior to that, he wouldn't have needed a conditional use for what he's proposing. So this conditional use permit is just related to the wellhead protection ordinance. New underground fuel tanks are prohibited in the wellhead protection overlay district, but because he's an existing non-conforming business, he's eligible to seek a conditional use permit to expand his business. His business is currently located at 903 Broad Street. He purchased 2 adjacent vacant parcels at 911 and 915, and he's proposing to redevelop on all of the parcels. He's proposing to construct a new 2,310 square foot convenience store with a new canopy over realigned gas pumps, and there'll be additional gas pumps compared to what they have now. He'll be reconfiguring the driveway, so he'll be moving the driveway back from the intersection, so it will function a lot better. And then he's replacing all of the underground fuel tanks and making other site improvements. He's going to be complying with the parking requirements of code and meeting the landscaping requirements of code. That existing tank system is fairly old. The tanks and single-walled lines were installed between 1969 and 1979. They have a combined capacity of 25,000 gallons of unleaded gasoline. They're a long way extended beyond their life expectancy. The new system includes 3 double-walled fiberglass tanks with a combined capacity of 32,000 gallons of unleaded gasoline and diesel, along with double-walled poly lines. There's also a monitoring system, which doesn't exist on the current system, that will continuously monitor the tanks and lines for leaks. And the system will be inspected annually. Included in this packet were 2 letters from consultants explaining the fuel systems. And they did do environmental assessments on the property. They are finding that there's not currently any contamination around those tanks, so there should not be any residual environmental issues from removing the tanks, but they could have if this continued as it was. So this improvement is actually better for our wells, better for the environment, and I also think that the site will function a lot better under this new site design. Plan Commission did review this at their last meeting. They held a public hearing, and actually no one came out for or against, but they recommended approval of it with these conditions, which are that the conditional use permit authorizes the replacement of the existing underground fuel tanks on the property located at 903 Broad Street as part of a comprehensive redevelopment that includes the construction of a new 2,310 square foot convenience store, a new canopy over realigned gas pumps, the reconfiguration of the driveways, and numerous site improvements on the properties located at 903, 911, and 915 Broad Street. The applicant and/or owner shall provide copies of all federal, state, and local facility operation approval or certificates and ongoing environmental monitoring results to the city. The applicant shall establish the fuel system, monitoring system, and safety procedures that are described and illustrated in the application and attachments. The applicant shall prepare, file, and maintain a current contingency plan which details the response to any emergency which occurs at the facility, including notifying municipal, county, and state officials. Prior to the issuance of a building permit for this project, the applicant shall obtain an architectural review certificate and a certificate of zoning compliance, and shall combine the parcels before they're issued. And then just a standard condition about major changes coming back through this public process and minor changes being approved administratively. And the Wellhead Technical Review Committee did meet on May 6th and voted unanimously to recommend approval. And the Plan Commission met on May 22nd and voted unanimously 4-0 to recommend approval of the conditional use permit. And the applicant is here this evening.
Okay, thank you. I will open the public hearing on item 4A. Anyone wishing to come forward and speak on item 4A, please approach the podium and state your name and address.
Joe Stottleman, 2431 East Ridge Road, Beloit, Wisconsin. I am with Angus Young Associates and representing Mr. Patel, who's with me also today, just here to answer any questions you might have about the project.
Okay. Thank you. In our discussions, we'll certainly take you up on that.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Any other persons wishing to come forward and speak on item 4A? Third and final call for persons to come forward and speak on item 4A. Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on item 4A. Do we have a motion for approval?
Motion for approval. Second.
Moved by Lubke, second by Levy. Councilor DeForest.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a question for Harry, if you wouldn't mind, just for the public's interest. Would you be willing to speak to your comfort level with the technology of the new proposed tank system that's going to replace the existing tank and how safe that will be for our wellhead area?
Sure. We've had, at the wastewater treatment plant, we've had experience with fiberglass tanks. In fact, they installed fiberglass tanks in 1991 at the wastewater treatment plant. We hold caustic chemicals in these tanks. In fact, we have 4 of them. And we've never had an issue with any of the tanks. So my comfort level is, it can't get much higher. Considering they're fiberglass double hulled, you don't, beyond that, there's really not much you can do to improve upon the situation. So I'm very satisfied and very comfortable with the tanks that they intend on placing. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Van Bogart.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm not certain who to address the question to, but either Mr. Patel probably, but the alarm system that would detect a leak is outlined in some of your letters. And it also refers to operators are required to be trained in A-B operator training. Anybody know what that consists of? And when the alarm goes off, do you just punch a button and keep going, and or what is the procedure if there is a leak that's detected by this apparently sophisticated detection system? What happens?
Please approach the podium.
I am the Raj Patel of the Clark Gas Station, the owner. I did take the Class A and B training at the state required, and whenever the alarm goes off, we hit the button so clear the alarm. If it's more than 24 hours, we call the third party, and they're gonna come down and inspection the problem.
All right. So do you cease selling operations when the alarm goes off, or what do you do? I guess
It just takes like when sometime the alarm goes off and we hit the button, and it just reset by itself. Maybe next couple hours.
All right, and then you call someone to inspect it further?
If it's major problems.
All right, well, I guess I'm getting it. Fine, you got an alarm, but what do you do after that? What sort of training either do your operators have, or what is the procedure if you do detect, or the technology detects a leak? What happens next?
The procedure, Jim, it's continuously monitoring. So an alarm might be an errant alarm.
Okay.
So you clear the alarm off the system, and then it resets itself. And so if it continues to alarm again, so you might have an errant reading, and it allows the system, when I say that, the DNR and how you report that allows for that errant alarm to occur, and so you reset it, and if it continues in that 24-hour period, so if you have a second alarm in that 20, then you have to go through a next level of investigation. And that means the system tells you, the computer system tells you what the alarm was, you download that information, and then you have to investigate that. And that's done by the installing company.
Okay, so it's more sophisticated than I was thinking.
It is very
I'm
sophisticated.
thinking 11:30 at night.
Not at
With
all.
all due respect, your minimum wage guy, half asleep, alarm goes off, he punches it and says, "The hell with it," and let's go.
No, there's multiple levels of notification that are automatically enacted in that system, and it's interconnected with the monitoring system off-site, actually.
Okay, thank you.
And we do have like once a year, like the third party came in and inspection the tank, line and leaks. That's the state required once a year.
Okay, thank you.
You are.
Councillor Kincaid.
Mrs. Christensen, would you help me out with this? My understanding is that because this involves the wellhead, it's subject to review, the review that it's undergoing right now.
Yes.
And the property is being increased by 350% or something, and a much larger building and a canopy. And by the expansion, and all of the buildings, I understand, will be demolished and removed, along with the tanks and a new grading plan and everything else. So that's not really subject to review, or is it? It seemed like you were.
The wellhead portion of it is what's subject to review.
Okay.
So there's not a conditional use required for a new gas station in C3. So if there wasn't the wellhead overlay district, this wouldn't have had any public review.
Okay, so I drove by a gas station, saw a couple of dumpsters on the corner. You wouldn't have anything to say about whether those should be shielded from the public review or not?
The dumpster enclosures are required per code, so the city staff, as part of site plan review, but I'm saying no public review, I'm saying there's no meeting where we review the site plans. So we will still review the site plans for compliance with all code, including enclosed dumpsters, parking requirements, landscaping requirements, architecture review, all the normal requirements that we do for site plan review, but it doesn't require any kind of a conditional use permit for the use. The conditional use permit is under the Wellhead Protection Overlay District that has restrictions on gas stations or something that is putting tanks below the ground. And in this case, we think it's a positive thing because the current tanks are really not in the best of shape.
No question about that.
Yeah.
Just so I understand then, that whether there would be landscaping, I understand from your staff report there would be no landscaping requirement because of the existing zoning. So the City Council and the Planning Commission will have no information or input on the extent to which dumpsters are screened, which if there's any plantings at all on the property, if the height of the canopies, the impact on the homes that are and two-family homes, single-family homes, home occupations, and whatever else we have around there, that impact won't be subject to any review except by staff.
Yeah.
And that the standards of development by Walgreens across the street, which I consider a pretty high standard, and they've done a very good job, may not in any way be mirrored by this property. Is that
Well,
true?
the standards of Walgreens were not imposed by the council either. Those were just staff
I'm saying
review.
you did a pretty
and-
good job there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
will
so I
that
mean, it'll be
will that
similar.
the
What I
standard
mean is
against
that-
which you might
yeah.
measure your input?
Yes.
And might we expect something like that?
Yes, something more similar to that.
There's a sign on the property. I assume that's the sign that is given, and that won't be subject to height, having a 30-foot pole or whatever they might wish.
He can
or
maintain
larger.
his current sign. You know, like if he's got a sign, he can reuse a current sign pole. If he wanted to do something different, like if he was going to put up a new pole sign, that would be subject to the current code. But he can replace his sign face.
That won't be subject to public review either. Okay, I just wanted to be sure I understood that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate the clarification. I would like to ask a couple of questions of the water department, the clean water department. It was, I read the minutes of the Planning Commission, and it was stated that the environmental study showed it came up clean, I think was the word used. Is that your understanding at this point, based on a Phase 2 study being required, and that we have the tanks by the engineer's report are beyond their useful use, well beyond, I think you said, their useful use? How do we understand that this project can be properly meeting all of the requirements that you have?
Well, I mean, I don't want to use the term faith, but we have to go on standard engineering principles.
Good.
Yeah, exactly. So, of course, being below ground, we have to rely on our engineers and our expertise of others, consultants that do this type of work and review and analyze the properties. And we have to rely on those reports and that information to be true, reliable, and correct. I personally put a lot of faith in the consultants' reports and any information that we get back. And again, I'm comfortable with the reports that we've seen. I will have to review the Phase 2 assessment again, and I want to compare that to the source water assessment that we recently received from the DNR, just to increase my comfort level. But I think it's imperative that we do that also.
So since this is really the only thing publicly we can talk about, I'd take just a few extra minutes if I may. So the 3 lots that have been added to the property, will they be drilled to determine if there's any possible plume from the gas station site?
I'm not aware of that, but that's certainly a question that we can put forward.
What do you mean by that? I don't know if there would be anything there either, but there may be a plume that we might expect given the soil conditions.
Right. I think I want to take a look at the source water assessment for that area first and see what we have in that area. Okay. And then from that point on, I can talk with staff, and we can certainly move forward with an investigation if need be. But I'd like to review the information.
I understand from my own experience that to make any beginning judgment, at least you need a Phase 2. And on that basis, one might reasonably expect there would be no problems. Mm-hmm. Now, your review of the Phase 2, does that tell you that there are no problems at the site?
That would indicate that, yes.
So if you had a Phase 2,
right,
but
right, absolutely.
You haven't reviewed a Phase 2 yet?
I personally no.
Yeah. Is one in the possession of the city at this point?
I have not had one cross my desk. I will have to check with staff. Uh-huh. And again, I look at the source water assessment as a guide. And I'm not sure if Mr. Stottleman.
It has been completed, but I don't believe it has been submitted.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what the answer was?
Please approach the podium.
It has been.
Phase 2 has been completed, the report has been completed, but I do not believe it has been submitted to the city at this point. Nobody's asked for it.
Why would, maybe I should ask staff.
Maybe.
Why are we?
Yes,
go
ahead.
Could I please answer this question, because I think it's very important to get this clarified. The answer to your question, Counselor, is that in order to remove these tanks, a permit is required from the state regulatory agency. Actually, the Beloit Fire Department inspectors will be on site, and they will be inspecting the tank removal. If there's any sign of odor, any sign of liquid contamination in the ground, any reason to believe there's any contamination on the site, the project stops, this matter gets referred back to the state, and a solution is developed before the project moves forward. So this will be monitored just like any other tank removal, each step along the process.
Good.
And if I can add, Larry, we will have that plan in place before we start excavation, because that will impact the amount of time Mr. Patel's business is down. So we will have the steps agreed upon, although there has been no contamination discovered, and we did drill the 2 vacant lots as well.
You have done that.
And so there's no indication of any contamination. The only place we can't verify until we
On-site.
remove the tanks is underneath the tanks. So, but we will have that plan in place because that's his business livelihood, and so the downtime on that has to be kept to a minimum.
So we would, so the process is before in the Wellhead District, we approve the zoning, the special use permit before we know that there's any pollution there at all and understand how it might be removed. Is that
That's correct. The only matter before council tonight is a conditional use. This is a land use permit that simply authorizes them to move forward. There are a whole series of building permits and site plan architectural review permits that are required for this project before they can go to construction. There's demolition permits required on the old building. A special tank removal permit has to be obtained before the tanks can be removed out of the ground. So there are a lot of regulatory steps and regulatory oversight with the project. The only thing that we're looking at tonight is the authorization to proceed. That's why the applicant has come in with a state-of-the-art tank. Our people have reviewed that to make sure it's the best available because it will be in the wellhead protection area. And what we're doing here is removing a very, very small substandard building and site and replacing it with a larger, much more functional and much higher service with a convenience store as well as a canopy and multiple fueling stations, really using the site much better. We're moving the driveway aprons back away from the radii of the intersections of this whole thing will be much safer and a much more productive business for Mr. Patel, as well as a better site from the city's perspective. But that's all that's on the agenda tonight. All the rest of that stuff is taken care of through the normal site plan and building review processes once a decision is made on the land use.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. So the site plan that is a part of the packet prepared by the engineer or by the architect really isn't anything that we should be looking at now, even though it was included in the packet.
It's required to be submitted as part of the conditional use permit, so it's included in the packet to show you what they're
It
planning to do.
really hasn't been subject to review.
Well, it's not, you're not doing site plan review. It's provided as an illustration of what he's proposing to do. So that you can see what he's...
I can't read the packet, the print or the lines, so I just wondered what purpose it was serving.
Just to illustrate what they're proposing to do and how the layout is proposed to be.
In that regard, I would suggest that it is opaque.
I mean, we're just dealing with what we get submitted. I mean, we submit it, we scan it in, and
I understand.
And it, we're trying to make it fit on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper.
This is a good project, and I very much would like to see it go forward. I just want to understand that what the process is, and hope that maybe the council has already figured it out. I don't think I'm that slow on these matters, but I did have to ask the questions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor Kincaid. I think it's worthy to note that this is the first time we've had to do this, so that we can expect to try to work this out through weeping and gnashing of teeth. So we have a little bit of latitude here. Councilor DeForest, you had something additional you wish to ask?
Sorry, Harry, I have one additional question. I apologize to make you come up here again. Under the staff recommendations in condition number 4, it talks about the contingency plan if there is an emergency and there's a need for response. Will Mr. Patel, will he file that plan with you? I know we talked about that when we developed the wellhead protection ordinance. That'll be filed with you. Will you be able to provide feedback to him if you feel like it's not an appropriate response in terms of timeliness of notification and those kind of things?
Absolutely.
I just wanted to make sure, since that was maybe not as clear with my colleague's Van de Bogart's question.
Right. Well, this, in fact, what we'll probably do, and I'll talk with Cheryl Simplot, our environmental coordinator. I think in situations like this, we'll probably even have to maybe expand our spill control prevention plan, at least a notification. That was one of the issues that came out in the Wellhead Protection Committee's review, was the response, the alarm system, the telemetry, and the response. Physically everything made sense. It's the response that was our biggest concern.
Right.
And we will need to fine tune to make sure that is that is spot on
Okay.
before we move forward, absolutely.
Great,
Yep,
great,
yep.
thank you.
Okay. Counselor Lupke.
Just a final thought. I think it's important that we not lose sight of the fact that because of this project, we're getting rid of a 60-year-old station with dubious tanks and making improvements all the way around. So I think it's a very positive step, and I just don't want to lose sight of that in our conversation. Thank you.
Thanks. And Counselor Spreitzer.
I just wanted to echo Councilor Lupke's comments that I think this is a positive development, and no matter what we find under the old tanks when we dig them out, finding it now is better than not finding it, and removing them and replacing them with something that's state-of-the-art is certainly the way to go. So I think this certainly fits within the Wellhead Protection District goals, and also more broadly what we'd like to see on this corner.
Thank you.
I add one thing?
You may, please approach the podium.
Just maybe to put some of the questions in Ms. DeForest's question about the monitoring. The DNR, this is a highly regulated industry, and the DNR has standards about contingency plans and notification. And Mr. Patel has been operating that business since 2003, and has had no issues to this date, and that's all, he has a very strict level of standard that he has to meet with that. So I don't believe there's anything more the city could ask for that the DNR isn't already demanding of him on today's system. So,
I think our performing our due diligence and trying to work through this process that we've just enacted, and we'll get a better idea of what we can expect in the future. So, do we have any other councilor questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call the matter. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Item passes 7-0. Second public hearing will be item 4B.
A resolution authorizing a conditional use permit to allow a church in an R1B single-family residential district for the property located at 1227 Liberty Avenue. The Plan Commission recommended approval 4-0.
Madam Director.
The zoning ordinance was changed in 1999 to require conditional uses for churches in R1B. At that time, this building was used as a church. It was Christ United Methodist Church. And then when the River of Life United Methodist Church did what they did, combining all the churches, this church was vacated. And then in 2009, an applicant was granted the ability to use it as a daycare center as a principal use, and then civic and religious assembly as a secondary use. But he never did establish those uses. And then ultimately, the property was actually foreclosed on by the bank, and now this church, Gary Hutchinson, on behalf of New Life Tabernacle, has purchased the property with the intent to establish a new church at this location. It does have, one of the big issues is parking. It does have a small parking lot, and it was in place at the time that church was there, but since the building has been vacated, it does require compliance with the parking requirements of code. Code does require one stall for every 4 seats or pew, and so he will have to comply with that requirement. And he is intending to make a number of site improvements. He is starting small because he does not, at this point, he's not moving in a congregation from somewhere else in town. This is a new church. Plan Commission did review this and recommended approval. Subject to the conditions listed in the staff report, there is an addition that was added by staff, which I'll explain in a second. Conditions are, this conditional use permit authorizes the establishment of a church within the existing building on the property located at 1227 Liberty Avenue if all other conditions are satisfied. The maximum seating capacity shall be 4 times the number of stalls in the off-street parking lot. We added that the applicant shall submit a parking lot striping plan for planning staff review and approval before making any changes to the existing lot, and then maximum occupancy shall be established after review of the striping plan and the attached dwelling unit plans. We found out after the Plan Commission meeting that he's planning to live there. And so we had to factor in the fact that he'll have the church plus the parking requirements of the residential unit. This condition was set up to say what the seating capacity can be based on parking so that it was kind of flexible for his needs. The applicant shall stripe all proposed parking stalls a minimum of 9 feet by 18 feet. Parking stalls must be striped in epoxy paint that is white in color and shall be maintained during the tenure of the property owner. The applicant shall establish one handicapped accessible parking stall and aisle for the off-street parking lot. This accessible parking stall shall be van accessible, include an 8-foot wide access alley abutting the designated parking stall, and shall be striped in epoxy paint that is blue in color. The accessible parking stall must also include an ADA parking sign. The applicant should provide concrete wheel stops for each off-street parking stall. The concrete wheel stops shall be positioned in a way that preserves a 4-foot walkway between parked vehicles and the building. They shall meet the minimum aisle width requirements. All trash and recycling containers shall be enclosed. The applicant must obtain an architectural review certificate prior to the establishment of a dumpster enclosure on the subject property. Foundation planting shall be established and maintained on the south and west sides of the building on the subject property during the tenure of the property owner. And the applicant shall obtain an architectural review certificate and sign permit prior to the establishment or replacement of outdoor signage of the property. And then any major changes have to come back through this public process, and minor changes can be approved administratively. And we are glad to see this vacant building being occupied because it has been sitting vacant for a number of years. So we are happy to see someone coming in and taking interest in an existing vacant building.
Thank you. I'd like to open the public hearing on item 4B. Does anyone wish to come forward and speak on item 4B? Second call for persons to come forward and speak on item 4B. Third and final call for persons to come forward and speak on item 4B. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing on item 4B and entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved by Spreitzer and second by DeForest. Do we have any questions or comments on this one? Hearing none, I'll call the matter. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes 7-0. And we'll move on to item 5, citizens' participation. We have reached the point on the agenda for citizens to speak to the council about issues that are coming before us or may come before us in the future. Council members may not act on any request of this meeting, but may refer a speaker to staff for assistance. We ask that you hold your comments to 3 minutes or less and refrain from personal attacks of any kind. Do we have any persons wishing to speak under citizens' participation? Second call for persons to come forward and speak under citizens' participation. Third and final call for persons to come forward and speak under citizens' participation. Hearing none, I will close the citizens' participation and we'll move on to item 6, the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless the council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered at this point of the agenda. Does anyone wish anything removed from the consent agenda? Hearing none, the consent agenda consists of items 6A through 6I. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Oh, did I miss? Oh, excuse me, 6L, sorry. But motion to approve by Van de Bogart, and second by Levy. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Consent agenda passes 7-0. Item 7 would be ordinances. There are none. 8 would be appointments. There are none. Item 9 is councilor activities and upcoming events. And Councilor DeForest.
I have nothing, thank you.
I don't believe. I think you're playing with us. I'm convinced of it. That's okay. All right, Councilor Van de Bogart.
Just a couple things, along with all of my fellow councilors, with the exception of Mark. We had the opportunity to participate in the Memorial Day Parade. Mark was out of town, honoring our veterans and the Memorial Day concept. It was a good parade, cold, but it was good to get out and participate. Also, I had the opportunity on Saturday night to attend a kind of an unusual theatrical presentation by the high school students at Beloit Memorial who are going to Scotland to perform this zombie prom presentation. It's a fundraiser. They're still looking for money, but quite a group of talented individuals. And if you get a chance to see them this summer, they're out and about still attempting to raise, I think, $5,000 or $6,000, they said, to close the gap between the money they have and the money they need to go to represent themselves and our city. It's a very worthwhile cause, so that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilor Kincaid.
I joined the other counselors on the Memorial Day Parade. It was a little cold. It was overcast. It looked like it would rain every minute that we were out there, but I think we all had a good time. It was my first parade, and I was happily surprised how many folks were watching. They were all looking for the council, I'm sure. But they were just kids and grown-ups of all kinds. They were just. It was like it was a clear day, and it was a very enjoyable thing. Went to the Meals on Wheels board tonight, and where they invited folks to attend to learn what they're doing, and it was good to hear again, if I may paraphrase their motto, "No senior shall go hungry."
Certainly.
And they were discussing how that is happening and how they're continuing their good works.
Thank you. And Councilor Lupke.
I was honored to represent the city at Todd's school groundbreaking, and again, I will share this with council. I was given a thank you by the students, so we'll treasure this as we pass it around. So that's all.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Spreitzer.
I have nothing this evening.
All right, and Councilor Levy.
I would like to take an opportunity to thank the chief and the Beloit Police Department staff, and then also this council for our 100% on compliance check. For people who know, we have been pushing for something like this for years, and I attribute it to the police department going out and definitely checking, but then also to the council for making owners and people who have license understand the importance of following the guidelines and not selling to minors. So I think this is a great achievement, not only for the police and the council, but for the entire city. I think the message is out there that we want to make sure that people are being responsible who has a license to sell alcohol, and I think this is a big achievement for the city, and I only look forward to continue this, and congratulations to anyone and everyone who had a part in it.
Thank you. And I have nothing this evening, so we'll move forward to item 10A.
This is the Parks and Recreation presentation on summer activities.
Mr. Ramsey.
Good evening. Pleasure to be here tonight. We're going to start with, let's see if I can make certain good, very good. I'm going to start tonight just opening with showing you and indicating to you, which I think most of you are aware of, some of the facilities we have within our park system. We have 924 acres of parkland, which is really substantial for a community of this size. We have 39 park sites, 18 shelters, 16 different buildings that we maintain, 25 separate playground sites for kids and families to enjoy. We also maintain 157 park signs and landscaping beds throughout the city, including in the downtown area. Along with that, we have 15 natural areas and or special use areas, which would include such things as the kayak and canoe launch or hiking trails. And all the hiking trails and biking trails, we actually have 28 various sites, which vary in length and size. And through many of those areas, you can get from one site to another site, and includes the Riverwalk area downtown as well. With that in mind, these are basically the sites where all our programming occurs, and I think that's really what I understand is interested in knowing tonight. So with that in mind, I'm going to turn it over to Spencer Waite, who's going to talk about each different facility we have, and then what programs actually occur at those sites. Spencer.
Can I keep that?
Sure, absolutely. PowerPoint.
All right. Thank you for allowing us to come in tonight and
just here to talk about some of the programs that we offer, facilities that we run during the summer, and answer any questions that you might have after the PowerPoint presentation. Before the meeting started, I gave the city manager our summer brochure that we send out to the community. We print up 43,000 of those, which roughly 36,000 of them are inserted into the shopping news, and then we also distribute them through the schools and then take them to various agencies throughout the city of Beloit to let the community members know what we're trying to offer during the summer and fall and winter activities. But first off, on the PowerPoint, we have our Kruger Pool, which we're getting ready to open up here this Thursday, weather permitting. It doesn't look too great for us this Thursday, but we spent a lot of time over the last couple of weeks getting the pool prepped. We painted the diving well, just regular maintenance that we go through yearly. But some of the highlights that we have at the pool, our swim team program that we initiated probably 3 years ago or 4 years ago, where we have over 150 community kids that participate, not only within the city of Beloit, but the surrounding areas that come from Clinton, South Beloit, Janesville as well. And so it's really made huge strides over the last couple of years, and we also provide those kids with 4 swim meets that they go to throughout the summer. We do host one here in Beloit, and then they go to various communities to have additional swim meets as well. We also have some water aerobics programs. We have Gene Whitcomb, who is our instructor there, who does an excellent job, and we get a lot of older people that are interested in those, and we hit the senior center pretty hard, and we get about 18 to 24 older adults that participate in that, and we offer 2 or 3 different sessions, so we try to make it convenient for everybody's work schedule. Pool rentals, we have those available on Saturday and Sunday nights for birthday parties, family reunions, company picnics. We do those, like I said, Saturday and Sunday nights from 6:30 to 8:30. And then also we have swim lessons that we offer Monday through Friday for 9 weeks throughout the summer. And then obviously we have our open swim program, or open swim, daily swim I should say, from noon to 5:30 on the weekdays and noon to 6 on the weekends. Family and adult leagues, we offer something for both the adults and the children to participate in together. We offer co-ed kickball and wiffle ball, which seems to be kind of growing in attendance over the last couple of years. We do that down at Leeson's Park. We create a wiffle ball field per se out in the outfield, and have the home run fence, and it seems like some of the younger adults that may not want to participate in softball or want to continue that participate in the wiffle ball program, and so we get about 10 teams to do that in the late fall and wrap that up for our fall season. Youth activities, we have a variety of those, some new, some existing, but just to highlight a few of them, our Big Hill Adventure Camp out at Big Hill Park, our free fishing program at the lagoon, unfortunately had to be postponed this past weekend due to some algae around the lagoon area that just wouldn't have made it a lot of fun for anybody as far as the kids go trying to catch some fish and unfortunately just catch some snags. But we're working on remedying that problem and should have that taken care of, and then once we get that done, then we'll make up that program. It's a good program for the kids, and a lot of community partners that work together on that. Tennis lessons, we have Wacky Wednesdays, Critter Crazy Camp, Cook and Craft, which is a new one that we're doing this year, our soccer program that we contract with an outfit that comes in and runs a soccer camp, a British soccer camp for us. And then new also this year is our Youth Pom-Poms program, and our Playground Summer Fun, Camp Kids Stage, Punt, Pass, and Kick, and we've also partnered with the Welty Environmental Center this summer for some coordinated events that we're going to host. Some special events that take place, we have what we call 40 plus softball days. Instead of just our normal league. What we've tried to do is create an afternoon where people that are 40 plus that may not have the time to participate in a league per se have the opportunity to come out and play softball with people that are around their same age. It's a relatively cheap program. You sign up. We pick teams the day that we get there. It's kind of like the old Sandlot. Everybody show up and throw your name in the ring, and you get on a team. And then we also have some hot dogs and brats that we cook up at the same time. Co-ed softball tournaments, wiffle ball tournaments, kickball, skateboard competition that we partner with Beloit Optimist on that takes place in August. We also offer city softball tournaments, a Packer backer trip. So if you're a Packer fan, we have a bus trip that goes up to Lambeau Field and does the tour and goes through the Hall of Fame each August. And a few beanbag tournaments and an under 500 softball tournament. Also, if you're looking to get out of town for a quick weekend, we offer WPRA ticket sales to different attractions throughout the state of Wisconsin. Mainly, most of them are up in the Dells, but we have Green Bay Packers, Milwaukee Public Zoo, Mount Olympus, and Noah's Ark, Six Flags, and the new one this year is the Bigfoot Zipline Tour. So if you haven't had a chance to do any of those, come see us. We can help you out with tickets at a discounted rate versus the gate. Each ticket that we sell through the WPRA, we receive a quarter of the cost, and so hopefully it covers some of our administrative time and things like that. But it's a good program, not only for the state, but for the community as well. Grinnell Hall is our next item up. Most of you know that John Kelkert's retired here this January, and Paula Schutt has become the new coordinator at the Senior Center, and she's doing an excellent job and bringing just an excitement to the center. She's worked on a lot of different programs and new offerings this year so far, and I would imagine there'll be a lot more coming out. But just to highlight a few things, there's a senior theater group that's really picked up over the last couple weeks. Every day there's a card group, quilting and journaling classes, exercise programs, reflexology programs, and a big part of the Grinnell Senior Center is a Rock County Nutrition Program that has a lot of members that come in and have some meals at the center. And then we have summer picnics, singing groups, and another huge portion of the Senior Center is the tax preparations for the seniors, which they do over 150, 200 tax preparations each spring. So that is kind of just a highlight of the Senior Center. Kruger Golf Course is also a big portion of the Parks Department. At our office, we offer season pass sales that mainly we do prior to the golf course opening. So those guys that are looking to get their passes early, we take care of them. We offer junior golf programs, father-child golf tournaments, and then our department, the Parks and Leisure Services, runs the junior golf leagues, junior city tournament, men's city tournament, and assist in the Swanee tournament and the Swanee Scramble, which is southern Wisconsin and northern Illinois tournaments. Next up is the Riverside Rentals. This is just a great family area to be down. Over the last 5-10 years, just the development that's taken place and the care and quality of facilities down there. We operate the Lagoon paddle boat and concessions. We have, I believe it's 9 4-person paddle boats and 4 2-person paddle boats down there, as well as some kayaks. We did purchase 4 new boats this spring through a State Line Community Foundation grant that was given to us. And then we also purchased new tandem bikes last year. And so if you haven't had a chance to get down there and try those, it's a relatively cheap, inexpensive way to spend time with your kids and get out there and let them kind of steer the boat, and most likely they'll head straight to the fountain, so wear your rain cap. Our season basically runs on weekends starting in May. We are only open on the weekends, but starting June 1st, then we open 7 days a week. And Just being down in the park over the last couple of days when it's nice like today, it's just jam-packed, and people are really starting to get into the season. So next up, staying with the riverfront, is the Rotary River Center. What I have for you up there is just some bullet points of the last 5 years, starting back in 2008 with the rentals that we do throughout the facility. As you can see, the trend has been going up, and I expect that to be the same going into 2013. Last I checked, there isn't any weekends open until the middle of November, and that basically started back in April. So April through the middle of November, every Saturday and Sunday are rented out, and then just general meetings and other activities that take place in the Rotary Center throughout the year contribute to the amount of use that is down there. Rotarians are there every Tuesday, and but we have many other groups that are down there. The Rock River Blood Center is down there probably twice a month on either a Wednesday or on Thursday. So. And our park shelters. Again, I gave you a 5-year period of our park shelters on what we've done for rentals. Again, you can kind of see an increase each year. Last year we did have a banner year with 303 rentals. And like Brian said, we have 18 shelters that are out there. We only rent about 13, 14 of them due to neighborhood parks that we don't like to rent out for parties and things like that. We just want them for available use for the neighborhood and the people that live within there. But like I said, with the Rotary Center, every weekend, especially the next coming weekends with graduation coming up, you're hard pressed to find any park shelter that's available at this point, and so it's good for the city and good for us. For those that aren't aware of how you go about renting a facility, we've attached some of the information. Like I said, there's 13 shelters that are available. We rent the shelters from May 1 through October 1. Anytime outside of that period of time, you're more than welcome to use the facility, and that same goes for even during the rental season. If you don't want to rent it, you're still more than welcome to use the park, but if you want to guarantee a spot, the best thing to do is to call our office and come in and fill out the proper paperwork and get your permit for the shelter. Reservations can be made through our office, and I've attached our address and our phone number. They must be made in person. We don't do any reservations over the phone. That way we can get all the critical information that we need. And then also we've attached our website so that the citizens can go to the website and view all the parks. All the park shelters are on the website, and we got a nice colored picture so it illustrates what the shelter looks like, so they know kind of coming into our office what they'd like to see and what they need. And so that kind of wraps up my presentation. Like I said, enjoy the time to come down here each summer, each spring, and kind of give you an offering or a listing of what we offer throughout the summer and into the fall. So if anybody has any questions, feel free.
Any questions? Oh, okay.
I just want to add, when we leave tonight, we can go down and dance at Harriet's place, right? Until 9 o'clock?
That's correct.
Okay, so that's why we're not asking any questions, because we want to get down.
Want to get down there and do your
I just want to add, thanks to you, Spencer, and the rec department for revitalizing the triathlon. I don't think a lot of people realize that brings people in from Chicago and around the state, and around the Midwest, the last Sunday in June. And the compliments that I have heard from people who come into Beloit and comment on what a beautiful city we have, and it's wonderful to hear that. So thank you for bringing that back to life and doing a good job with it.
Thank you. I did also want to mention two more things that I forgot to put in the PowerPoint presentation. We have partnered with BIF this summer, and we are offering 2 outdoor movies. Starting in June, we'll offer one out at Telfer Park, and then in July we're also offering one over at Kruger Park. And so basically with the Friends of Riverfront doing theirs in August, we'll have one each month, and hopefully the community come out and support those.
Thank you. All right, item 11A.
A resolution amending the 2013 operating budget for Focus on Energy grant and authorizing the transfer of funds from the general fund contingency reserve account.
Mr. Boyson.
Yes, thank you. This relates to the biofurnaces that are previously approved by the council for the grant application, which was subsequently then approved for an amount of $11,200 through the Focus on Energy grants, which are affiliated with Alliant Energy. The money will be used to offset the costs involving 2 heaters at the Public Works Operations Facility. The Public Works Utility Facility will also have a heater installed, this is a highly ecologically beneficial program. My thanks to Chris Walsh and Jodine Saunders, who primarily developed the program and moved forward the grant applications and the concept. The key issues are identified as the operations administrative budget cannot cover the additional funds necessary to implement the biomass project. The utility budget can cover the costs to implement the biomass project at their facility. The resolution would authorize the city manager to amend the operating budget and transfer funds from the contingency reserve account to the operations administration budget to cover the balance of the biomass project. The project would reduce the natural gas consumption of our operations facilities by 70% and the utility facility by 75%. The project would assist the city of Beloit and perhaps surrounding communities to reduce the costs of disposal of emerald ash borer wood that is resulting from the current infestation that's coming upon the area. The opportunity to install biomass heaters in the operation facility through the Focus on Energy grant and with city funds will focus on sustainable stewardship as a means of heating the facilities while reducing costs to the facilities. And maybe in summary, I would just note that the transfer involves $29,080 from the city's contingency fund and $6,900 from a anticipated savings for the gas energy to fund the total cost of the project of $47,200.
Thank you. Do you have any questions or comments? Councilor DeForest.
Thank you. Mr. Boyson, I'm excited about what this means for us environmentally and also collaboratively. From what I understand, area municipalities have also expressed a desire to donate their waste wood to us to help us in our efforts. And I wanted to check with you, though, just for the public's interest, what is the ROI, the return on investment, for this investment in furnaces in these buildings?
There's a variability in the annual consumption based on the intensity of the cold. So in sub-zero winters, Chris has reviewed the pricing, and it appears we can run costs of almost $10,000 a month. In a very most mild winter, you might have $1,000 or $1,200 in that same month. But based on the average energy use in recent 5 years, I understand that the recovery would be less than 2 years to recover the total cost of the operation. That's even adjusting for some loading activities that might involve the furnace activity. And of course, the furnace has a 20-year life expectancy, so it'll be a highly beneficial, cost-effective project. If it's anywhere close to those numbers, it's hard to imagine that it won't be a very highly cost-effective.
Great, thank you. It's very exciting because not only is it cost-effective, but it's great environmentally and it's great collaboratively. So thank you, and thank you to Chris, who's here, for your efforts to bring this forward to us.
Thank you.
And Councilor Spreitzer.
Before you sit down, Mr. Boyson, another question. It's just, are we comfortable that we have the money in the contingency account that we're not going to probably need for something else to go ahead and do this?
Well, we've evaluated the funding with all the staff of operations and utilities and finance in the manager's office, so certainly that's we don't anticipate any problem at this time.
And then, obviously, with the emerald ash borer, we're expecting, I think, 5 to 10 years of having to cut down a lot of trees, and our neighbors will as well. After that period ends, do we still anticipate having enough wood to make significant use of these for the remaining 10, 15 years of the life expectancy?
Chris could perhaps talk about more specifics, but certainly my experience with running urban forestry systems indicate that a city of our size will have a significant rotation of tree removals required for a vast majority of reasons. So I'm unfortunately anticipating myself that we're going to have more wood than we can utilize in the furnaces for a period of time, and I think it should be looking good thereafter. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Chris. No.
Thank you.
Okay, that's good. Thanks. And Councilor Van de Bogaert.
I'm not certain that we would have the answer tonight, but I guess it raised a question in my mind. Does the burning of wood release more carbon into the atmosphere than does the burning of natural gas? We pat ourselves on the back for trying to be an eco-friendly community, yes. But are we in fact we're getting benefit? I mean, we're getting rid of the wood and all the other things, and I think the project should go forward. But it just occurred to me that perhaps we aren't as laudatory as we might be.
I know I've just been going through a personal enrichment training class and a Coursera class from one of the Big Ten universities. But in general, wood waste will decompose, whether it's burned or decomposed over a cycle of years. So wood waste is almost certainly going to decompose into its elements. If it's burned, it'll of course occur more quickly.
Right.
Natural gas is in reserve, so if it's not burned, it'll. This is my opinion, I guess, or my perception of my understanding of the ecology of the planet. So I do believe that overall carbon footprint would be reduced by burning the wood waste, which is on the surface and will be almost certainly decomposed over a period of time in the next few years anyway.
Thank you.
All right. Jim, I'll put in my perspective is that carbon dioxide is, of course, one carbon atom and two oxygen atoms, so it's a fixed ratio. So it's almost, given over a given number of British thermal units, it's probably going to be a pretty consistent output as far, and again, you kind of pick your poisons, but this is will prevent some of the natural off-gassing of that we'd have during decomposition anyway. So it's all a mixed bag, but it'll save us money to be sure. Okay, I think that's everything, all comments that I had. Anybody else have anything that they wanted to say? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by DeForest.
Second.
Second by Spreitzer. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item passes 7-0. We'll move on to 11B.
A resolution adopting the 2014 City of Beloit Strategic Plan.
City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. President. A brief staff report. As we do each year, the initial or first phase of each annual budget preparation process is to review and, where necessary, update the city's strategic plan. As part of that process each year, once the staff gets their submittals all together, we do a day-long workshop with City Council. We did that again this year. We started about 8:15, and believe it or not, actually went till almost 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The first part of that workshop is to review the city's vision statement, its mission statement, and the 5 key goals that we've set as a means of how we're going to achieve that mission. I'm just going to quickly read the vision and mission statements. We didn't make any changes in those, but for the City of Beloit, our vision is to be the gem of the Rock River Valley, embracing sustainable public policy, service delivery, and development in ways that protect the natural and built environment, enhance economic competitiveness, and create a high-quality living experience for current and future generations. That definition is very much the generic definition for sustainability, be it in government operations or in business, and we think that very much captures the vision of the City of Beloit as was just demonstrated. The city's mission statement, the City of Beloit celebrates its proud heritage, diverse culture, entrepreneurial spirit, and stewardship of a high quality of life employing sustainable practices to continue its resurgence as the gem of the Rock River Valley. And as you know, the rebirth, the reconstruction, the redevelopment of the city of Beloit is very much a work in progress, despite the tremendous accomplishments that the city and its various stakeholders have achieved in the last 2 decades. There are 5 goals that I mentioned. I'm not going to read all of those tonight. The entire plan is available online with the agenda. Contingent on council's action tonight, it'll be posted as well. The final component of the strategic plan each year are the various objectives that are brought forth by all of our divisions and departments. And each division of the municipal government develops a set of strategic objectives and work plans that identify those things of significance that it's going to accomplish during the coming calendar year. Those are all reviewed by council, changed and modified as council requests in order to produce the final plan document. And that's what we have before us this evening, Mr. President. If there are any further questions, I'll be happy to go into more detail about the document. But I do want to stress again for those watching at home, the council has already devoted many, many hours working with its staff, putting this plan together.
Thank you, City Manager. I think I'm going to go ahead and put in my 2 cents worth. I think that we did a lot of work. I think that the strategic plan that we have before us is a good one, and it's we've been successful with this in the past. I would point out that it has a little bit of disquiet after this plan. That are we really doing enough? Is there something else that we need to incorporate in this process? And I've noticed that we're getting ready to do a common branding experience with our other stakeholders in the community. Beloit 2020, the Vision Center, the Visibeloit. All of those are going to be looking for a common branding to help identify our community. It seems like that's an excellent opportunity for us to start thinking with our stakeholders is that how do they envision each one of our roles in this greater Beloit community, and that we should start thinking about that in a strategic sense throughout this process, so that we have something new and hopefully to bring to the table when we come to talk about the strategic process next year. So I think that that's something we should be thinking of and incorporating those thoughts into that branding experience. I think that's all I really wanted to add to this particular discussion. Does anybody else have anything that they wish to bring up? Mr. Van de Bogart.
Thank you, Mr. President. I certainly intend to vote for Resolution 11B, the strategic plan. I participated in the day-long planning session again, as I have each of the years I've been on the council. And I would point out that the strategic plan does not equal and is not necessarily a spending plan. We were presented with a list of needs at the strategic plan session that included streets, street maintenance, buses, additional personnel, emerald ash borer, retiree health questions and how to pay for that, phosphorus demands and levels, just to mention a couple that come to mind quickly. With levy limits, with what has been up to now in the last couple of years a declining tax base, there is no way that we can fund all of this Christmas wish list. And the governing process that we're going to have to go through at budget time will sift and winnow this. But as a strategic plan, I think it's great that the departments exercise their judgment and decision-making, and as a way to organize our corporation and as a way for us to get our hands around what we think we'd like to do, that's fine. But I would reiterate, this is not necessarily a spending plan, because we don't know what the numbers are going to be from the feds that we get. We don't know what the numbers are going to be from the state that we get. We don't know what's going to happen with a whole plethora of issues that are still up in the air. But as a plan, it's fine.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? All right, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Second.
Moved by Lupke, second by Van de Bogart. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The strategic plan passes 7-0. Item 11C.
A resolution approving the Compliance Maintenance Annual Report for 2012.
Harry? Did we catch you thinking about important matters?
A little off guard. Each year, we bring before you a compliance maintenance annual report. In essence, it's a report card provided to the DNR as to the health and well-being of our wastewater treatment facility. And the purpose is, and again, to evaluate the wastewater system for problems and especially deficiencies, and that's probably the key word in this document is deficiencies. By going through this process, we can determine and highlight deficiencies and then set a course of action to take care of those issues. This year we scored, I believe, without looking, I believe it was 3.71. 4.0 is a perfect score, similar to grades in school. We had a couple of hits. One was on phosphorus over the summer last year. We did tie that back to what are called quaternary amines, or at least we have a very good idea that that's what happened. There are biocides found in many different products, particularly Portagens. The product in there has biocides. So this is an emerging problem with other plants similar to ours, so it's something that we are working with consultants along with our staff to try to alleviate. And there was another issue regarding a analysis of our effluent, our biosolids, where we showed a high level of a particular metal that seemed to be an anomaly and an outlier, because if you look subsequent tests later in the year, they were all well below the limit. So we were not able to get to retest the analysis. It's just one of those where we kind of take it on the chin, if you will. There's no action needed to be taken because of that. I'm confident next year we'll have the 4.0 like we tend to get. So.
Okay, thank you. Councilor DeForest.
Thank you. Mr. Manthos, is the anomaly you're referring to, is that the elevated ammonia level that's mentioned in number 5 on 212?
Okay, now I was referring to the metal.
Okay. So can you speak to the elevated ammonia level?
Sure. Yeah, the elevated ammonia level that we without going too deep into wastewater treatment, we have a biological process that is extremely sensitive. One of them is phosphorus removal. The other is ammonia removal. They both work in tandem to achieve their same separate goals, but they still work in tandem to remove phosphorus and ammonia. And the ammonia removing microorganisms are ultra sensitive to any sort of either toxin or change in conditions. We had, I think it was one day or a couple days where it was elevated, but then it came right back down. And one of the things we do, my philosophy at the wastewater plant, we have 5 different permit criteria that we must meet. I will not sacrifice the plant to bring one into compliance. The most critical thing we do there, and I stress this over and over, is patience. We have to have patience. There's not a whole lot you can do to alleviate situations like that, especially ammonia and phosphorus. You can sit back and wait. It takes about 2 weeks, what we call sludge ages. And we have to sit back and allow the system to reacclimate itself to the incoming loading. And that's what we do.
Okay. Can I ask a follow-up to that? And I'm sorry I didn't get these questions to you ahead of time. I didn't get to read the packet till earlier today, unfortunately. I know that we're talking about future planning for phosphorus removal. Could you speak to that more for the public's sake, because that's an ongoing concern and it will continue to be so?
Sure. We recently completed a study with Donahue and Associates. They recently provided a document that outlined a path to compliance. Along with that, our 4-year permit is also up for reissuance through the DNR. What we're going to do is provide a compliance schedule to the DNR, which is what this study has provided for us. It'll be a compliance schedule for the next 4 years so we can meet the new upcoming limits. We're also going to be piloting a project at the plant. I just found out today it'll probably be mid-July. What we're doing is we're bringing in a piece of equipment that we anticipate purchasing to meet the new lower limits. We can all, I'll invite all of you out, come out and see it, touch it, feel it, see it. So what we're doing is, right now, we are laying the groundwork to meet that limit beginning in 2018. The DNR is, in essence, going to give us a compliance schedule. What they want to see is, what do you plan on doing come 2018 to meet the new lower limit? We've already done that. We're ahead of the game a bit. We have the study completed. It's telling us what we're going to do, and it's going to be about a 4 to 5 phased approach, depending upon how much funding is available. And the first phase will be coming in 2015 or 16, and I think we can do that relatively easy. And when I say easy, obviously that's a relative statement, but there are ways that we can minimize the impact and cost, and that's what we hope to do initially. And that's going to be phase 1, is do a sort of a smaller scale upgrade, do some modifications to tanks that just involve putting in concrete or other lower expense items. And eventually, if we have to, then we have to go purchase these expensive items. But hopefully we won't have to, and that's kind of our goal. And it'll be a phased approach. And that's our goal.
Great, and you'll share that with us this summer, it sounds like?
Yes,
Okay.
it looks like July 15th, the week of July 15th. We were scheduled for earlier June. Now I got the email today that they backed it up due to scheduling conflicts in Texas.
Okay.
So, yep,
Great,
you can all
thank
come out and
you.
look at it. Certainly, you're welcome.
Any other councilor questions or comments? So do we have a motion? Moved by Lubke, second by DeForest. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item passes 7-0. And do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Levy, second by Spreitzer. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thanks.